right. Good day, Mr. Jerry Afolabi.
Yeah, thank you, my brother.
All right. So I know you to be an economist.
Sure.
Or let me put it this way: that you are a financial analyst. If it is possible, can you introduce yourself further for our viewers?
Okay, let me thank you for the opportunity, and then also to just say that I am a finance person by profession. I'm an economics person as well. Currently a PhD candidate in corporate governance.
Okay.
And so I've been also contributing my quota in making sure that as a country we win together, because
Sure.
that's the most important thing. And so basically that's what I do. I currently run a show too on Money Talk,
Okay.
which has to do with helping our society, our people, and how they can manage their finances, how they can manage their money.
Like
so
a
that
literacy.
sort of,
yeah,
because I run the financial literacy in the Daily Graphic and BNFT.
Financial literacy.
Exactly.
Sure.
Now I have decided to do radio as well, so people who cannot read will be able to.
So which radio station is that?
Currently, we're doing it on Rainbow Radio.
Okay.
Yeah, Rainbow. Every Saturday between the hours of 9 a.m. to 10, just 1 hour period. I bring in resource people. We discuss issues that borders on money management.
Okay.
Because once we are financially free as
Sure.
a people, it makes it easier for us to understand even government policy, and that is the reason why we are here, right?
Exactly, sure.
Because people need to understand finance. People need to understand how money works, how budget works, so that when finance minister comes to parliament to talk about budget, he's talking about overspending and talking about running
Inflation,
and all that,
GDP.
people would understand and
Exactly.
appreciate. And when the finance minister is saying that we are unable to generate domestic revenue, and so we are introducing new taxes,
Sure.
people will be able to understand, and the reason why we even need to pay taxes and all that.
All right. So just to let you know that you are live on PAB-MC GH, then also on Facebook. My name is Patrick Hasford Boadu. We're going to have a very short discussion with Mr. Jerry Afolabi. Basically, we are looking at the just ended presentation by the Finance Minister on the 2019 mid-year budget review. But before we move into that particular one, just yesterday, the Ministry of Information, I don't know whether you've been following this particular one, that has to do with the contract agreement with PDS. The agreement or the contract has been abrogated. What is your, briefly, what do you have to say about that?
I think as a country, we haste in taking decisions. That's what I think. And I also think that we don't do proper due diligence when it comes to documentation and implementation of policies. You and I is much aware that even with this free SHS, there has been a lot of critiques here and there from people like us, from industry watchers, as to how government is even managing it. It's one of the reasons why we are where we are.
Sure.
One of the key problems too has to do with even how we have managed our energy sector. The issue that previous government introduced ESLA, and this government said it was a bad thing, it's bringing hardships on the people of Ghana and all that. And today, what are we seeing? ESLA was supposed to last for just 5 years,
5 years
maximum.
Sure.
Today, it's going to last for 10 years, and has been increased. So, hitherto, the issue of criticizing a government that you are bringing so much burden onto the people, what are you doing now? So, it means that we don't do proper tertiary understanding or feasibility, or if you like, want of a better word, proper due diligence on even implementation of policies.
Sure.
And after the policies have been implemented, my question is, and this goes to every government, both NDC and MPP, the point is, do we even do value for money analysis? I don't think anybody has ever done that. Even with this implementation of free SHS, have we done value for money analysis? Have we reviewed the policy? We haven't done that. Planting for food and jobs, we haven't done that, and they are more than 2 years maximum. Every policy you implement as government, you need to have a team of people who will do what we call the value for money analysis and do the pros and cons and find out that, are we really impacting lives? Are we really getting value for what we are spending our monies on and all that? How well is it going? So in a nutshell, maybe you're going to delve into the nitty-gritty of the issues, but
Exactly.
this basically
so that is why I want us to look briefly concerning the what we heard yesterday concerning the PDS.
So like I'm saying, it means some people did not do their work well, and because opposition party began criticizing yesterday. You know, Abu Jinapo, former Deputy Energy Minister, wrote a special call-on letter to the president raising concerns. They have always raised concerns, and so a kind of probe and incite that kind of eagerness into government to look at the contract again, because there were a lot of issues with it, and there are still a lot of issues with it. And so for government to just come up and say that quickly we are holding on, it has not been totally abrogated. They are saying that there are issues, there are concerns, they want to look at it, they want to do a review and then come back. If they satisfy and they meet all condition precedents, then it means that they can go on. But what I'm saying is that we shouldn't have gotten here at all if we had done things properly in the right way.
Because I was listening to news, I heard the energy minister saying that because of time limitation, they were not able to go through the nitty-gritties of this.
No, that's not.
I was also saying to myself that if it happens to be elsewhere in this
that
world,
would be the end of the person. No, not resigned. He should be fired. You see, the reason why people are doing what they're doing is that everybody does it and gets away with it. That's Ghana for you. So people can just wake up and do whatever they like.
All right, so that is why we are doing it anyhow.
Yes, I'm saying that's why we are where we are as a people, until we begin to sanction people, until we begin to hold people accountable. And accountability comes in many forms, not just coming to tell us that this is how much I've spent, like, quote unquote, excuse my language, the kind of total disrespect that the Minister of Sports did in Parliament the other day. It was a total disrespect to the integrity, the well-being of Ghanaians. You come and present a budget like this to us, that is how much you spent, and nobody is holding anybody accountable.
I also heard the chairman for that committee, the Parliamentary Select Committee on Sport, saying that the 4.5 they have spent the money, so we should just allow them because the money has already been spent. We should just look at how the next time it will occur. But we have been saying this thing reoccurring every now and then.
It is because taxpayers, who you and I pay taxes, we are not interested in what happens to our money. Because if we are interested, we should be calling for some accountability. We should be calling for some sanctions. But they get away with it, so they will continue doing it.
All right, so let's move quickly into the reason why we are here. Actually, it has to do with the budget presentation. That is the mid-year budget review 2019. The minister on the 29th of July actually appeared before Parliament to present the mid-year budget review. To briefly, what is your general overview of the presentation itself?
I think it has been an annual ritual every year. As a people, we allow Minister of Finance to come by constitutional demand, come to present a budget to us as a people, to tell us how much they are going to spend, the kind of capital projects that they are going to do, and then also tell us how they intend to generate revenue. So basically, that's all the budget is about. And subsequently, we realize that because governments have not been committed to their own budgets, they come back and they say they call something supplementary budget. You know, it only happens in Africa. You know? It doesn't happen anywhere, because
you can't call for a supplementary budget.
No. Once you give us a budget, you stick to it. That's why they call it a budget. You understand? You have made projections, and so you are saying that plus or minus this is how much I'm going to spend, plus or minus this is how much I'm going to raise. So you don't come back and tell us that, oh, looking at the figures and all that, I have overspent, and so I need you to give me additional money. Have you ever seen a supplementary budget that talks about haven't underspent their budget and so they are giving money to the state back? Have you heard that before? No. They always come and ask for money. So what it means is that, yes, we make budgets, but we don't stick to it. It means that as a country and as a people, we are not disciplined. That's what it means.
But the president was talking about financial discipline and issues of sorts that have to regulate the way government actually spend, fiscal discipline.
Yes, you know,
so there were not any fiscal discipline in this
particular. I'm saying, yes, for me, I would say that, yes, let's give some credit to the president for having the idea and initiating it. I'm sure going forward, when we are strict with it, and when the committees and the team in place are strict with it and making sure that we are whipping government into line, then it means that along the line we'll be having some level of some physical discipline in the way we have managed our finances and all that. But hey, I think we can do better as a country, and all rests with the citizenry, because it is our responsibility to call on the people that we have given mandate to manage the affairs of our country. If we are calling on them for accountability, if we are asking the questions, if we are demanding that kind of responsibility from them, then they will set up. But when we go to sleep, what do you expect them to do?
Okay, so now let's look at the issue of the request. The finance minister is asking or requesting from Parliament to approve 6 billion supplementary budget. Do you think it is justifiable looking at the kind of policies and programs that government has? I mean, the free SHS, one district, one factory, one village, one dam, and the planting for food and jobs and other programs. Do you think the 6 million additional for 6 billion actually for the year supplementary budget is justifiable?
It's actually 6.3 billion. I wouldn't say I won't sit here and say it's justifiable or not, because the decision doesn't rest with me. The finance minister and his team have done their review, and they think that we haven't raised enough revenue as a country, and so because we are not raising enough revenue as a country, and we have overspent, because we're looking forward to spend in excess of 85 billion. Yes, 85 billion. And how much have we raised so far? We have done just 49 billion in terms of revenue mobilization. What it means is that there is a shortfall.
Sure.
And so if there is a shortfall, you have to make up the gap. Because there are capital projects, there are kind of projects that you want to do, social intervention programs. The free SHS is there, planting for food and jobs is there. You're talking about one village, one dam.
Sure.
You're talking about rearing for food, poultry, and all that. All those things are there. And these are all social intervention programs that the government is doing. And the government needs money. So if you and I are not paying taxes,
obviously government will not get
government
money.
will not, exactly. So that is why I'm saying that it is our attitude and behavior that is causing government and pushing government to continuously keep borrowing, because we are not paying the taxes.
Sure.
And we are asking for roads to be built, and we are asking for schools, children to go to school for free and all that. Government can only resort to borrowing. And if you look at what is asking for, in excess of 3+ billion of it is going to come from borrowing.
Sure.
So what it means is that your debt stock, which currently stands at 204 billion, is going to increase,
Sure.
plus or minus. You understand? So whether you like it or yes, before we end December, we'll be looking at debt stock in excess of 210 billion. You understand? And once you hit that level, what it means is that currently we are doing 59.2% of GDP. That's the debt stock, right? So if you add on, what it means is that we are closely entering into the 60% of GDP, which is the doctor. So what it simply means is that you are going to spend more on interest payments, because once the debt is going up, you would have to be meeting the obligation of paying, and so your interest payment is going to go up. I am sure that before December, salaries and wages will be asked for. TUC and his people will come in, they will demand for more salary. It means that government would have to look for money to increase their salaries. These are some of the things that are happening. Don't also forget that come September, we are going to have 3 tenured people going through the PHS. That's going to double the money, And all these things are things that are happening. Government is still overspending its budget. So the only thing out which government needs to take a bold step to do is to reduce expenditure. How do they reduce expenditure when you are entering into an electionary year? Sure. These are the challenges. So whether we like it or yes, we are going to be paying some taxes, and they have been bold with us and introduced it. They are talking about talk time, because yes, whether you like it or yes, we all talk, we all WhatsApp, we all Facebook, we all Twitter, and now they have found ways and means of realizing that almost every Ghanaian kind of have a phone, whether it's a YAM or a smartphone, and so they will still get some money from there. That's why they've increased it by 50%, because it used to be 6%, now it's 9%. What it means is that there is a difference of 3% added, which is half of the price, and so that's 50% added. So we are going to be paying 50% more. And I was a bit surprised and a bit curious when I heard Ken Ashigbe of the Chamber of
that there were
they didn't have any discussions and all that before
that
government took this kind of project. Exactly. So what it means is that the government knew. I'm kind of putting myself in their shoes, that they knew very well that there were going to be some heckling here and then, some resistance. So the only thing is just put it forward. Yes, and then they come back and say, okay, once we are done, they come and then we negotiate and find ways of dealing with it. So this is it. And then ESLA we all know that when the former government implemented it, they were like, oh, this is going to bring hardships and all that. But ESLA was doing very well. And there has been some PPA agreements here and there, pay and take, whatever, all those kind of things. Pay or take, all these things. I'm saying that whether we like it or yes, there are certain agreements that I don't want to go into the nitty-gritties of the energy sector because it has its implications. What the finance minister is proposing, which is the take and pay, has its own implications because it's going to mean that government needs to give full guarantee for whatever investment that the people are going to bring.
But that is what we are going for.
Do we have the capacity? Are we credit wealthy? Are you going to, with the kind of states we have ourselves in, are we going to compare, or would the investors willingly come on board? These are the critical issues. But you see, as usual as we are, and as the way we behave all the time, we put things out there and we think that's it, we go to sleep. But it has its own implications. I am just hoping that strategically, whatever they intend to do, they're able to do it and do it well. They need to get expert brains on board to advise so that we don't go back hurting ourselves.
Sure.
You get it? So for me, I think there are tougher times ahead because these taxes that has been introduced, the 4 taxes that has been introduced, whether we like it or yes, it's going to bring some level of hardships. It's going to translate into increment in transportation because fuel prices have been increased, LPGs has been increased. So when you are cooking in your house, if you were paying quote unquote 40 cedis for the 20 cylinder, whatever, you're going to be paying more and all that.
Sure.
So what it simply means is some purchasing power of the ordinary Ghanaian is going to be eroded by tax.
Sure.
So if originally you are complaining, almost every Ghanaian is complaining now that the economy is hard.
We are suffering.
And your purchasing power now, whatever you have in your pocket, is going to be eroded by some percentage. It means that you're going to suffer more. And you're going to complain more. So that is where we find ourselves.
Like the minority is saying.
That's where we find ourselves. That's the truth. Because we are going to be experiencing some upward increments in inflation. Inflation is going to go up because transport is going to go up. Foodstuffs are going to go up. People are supposed to be bringing their foodstuffs from the western regions and whatever it is. What it simply means is that cost of fuel is going to go up. So transportation costs will go up. The people who are planting and bringing the goods here would want to increase to defray their cost.
Sure.
So you, the final consumer, would have to pay more. You get
Sure.
it? And you pay more for the food stuff, you pay more for transport. That's where we are.
But again, let's look at the issue because I quite remember I've spoken with you on 2 occasions and your keen interest, or you have a keen interest in the energy sector. Looking at the ESLA, actually, you said that's close to 4.3 million Ghana cedis. Actually, lost.
That's a clear picture that the minister painted because he is saying that if you look at the debate on the floor of Parliament yesterday, Akutose mentioned the fact that this additional 6.3 billion they're asking for, part of it is going to take care of already outstanding debts that we have accrued. You get it? So there is actually some debt that we need to clear and make sure that we continue with the servicing of the existing one. You get what I'm saying? So whether we like it or yes, like I'm saying, it's because government knows the implication of taking us back to load shedding, which is a doom saw. Even if it's not a complete doom saw and we go back into load shedding, it simply means that the people of Ghana are going to go against them and we are heading into election, and so they can't afford to do that.
How would you advise government, especially when you are moving into the year 2020, when it comes to spending? Because don't forget that just recently I heard the Minister for Road and Highways saying that especially with the Lekman Road, they're going to reconstruct it and going to do other ones. But don't you think that people will have the perception that, because it's election year, that is why you are doing it? But then obviously it have to be done. So how, in your, like as an expert in the financial area sector, how would you advise, or what would be your advice to government in terms of spending or expenditure?
The only advice I can give to government now, as we speak, is to cut down on expenditure. That's all. Cut down on expenditure, because you see, there are certain key things that are going to fall due. You can't cut down on expenditure on free SHS because it's an ongoing project.
Sure.
the kids would have to be in school. You would have to make sure you are paying the teachers. You would have to make sure that you are giving them the food like you promised and all that. So you can't reduce that.
But if the government should cut down on expenditure, then how would he be able to fulfill or
so you are
some
torn
of the
between
policies
no
done?
you are torn between two things. You need to be bold. I think the previous government did some. I think somewhere 2015, 2016, before 2016, before we went into the 2016 election, I remember Setekwe came on board and mentioned that, you know what, these are things we can't do, because if we do them and we even win power, what it means is that come 2016, 2017, we are going to be hurting ourselves and we have to come back to you and ask for more. So government needs to be truthful and reduce expenditure in areas that it can. I'm saying that yes, you need to build the roads because you have made promises that you want to build them.
Sure.
Do you have to build them at the expense of every other person? Because trust me, if we keep spending like the way we are spending and we are not raising the enough revenue like we have to,
Sure.
we'll continue borrowing.
Is borrowing a bad thing to do?
I have always said, and in finance and in economics, borrowing is a good thing, not always a bad thing.
But
And
sometimes it could be a bad thing.
I'll always go for borrowing being a good thing if you're strategic. Reason being that if you're borrowing and you have means of paying, if you're borrowing and you're using the borrowing to do capital investment projects which can repay themselves, it's a good thing. The United States of America is a highly indebted country when it comes to borrowing. They have done in excess of 3 trillion. But because they have capacity to generate revenue and pay off, they are not scared. But here it is, we are always talking about debt stock, we are always talking about public debt, we are always talking about issues with your debt is going up and all that because we are unable to raise revenue. Sure. If we are raising revenue to match our debt, what is wrong with it? But it is a problem and it's a challenge because we are unable to raise the revenue to pay off those falling due debts. That's why our borrowing is a problem. Yeah. But if we have mechanism that the more than 6 billion people who are supposed to be paying taxes are paying taxes, if government stop giving the tax holidays that like they are doing, if people stop evading taxes like they are doing, and government is getting a lot of people in the tax basket, and a lot of people are paying irrespective of how insignificant it is, and people are paying for their property taxes, people are paying the rights, how do you call it, import declaration levies and all that, and they are not evading them, and government is getting the revenue. Government can decide to borrow whatever money that they like.
Let me ask you this, because not long ago the finance minister came out to say that they are not getting the revenue that they are expecting. I just want to find out, as a minister, do you think he was supposed to come out to say this, especially when you have all the instruments, when you have all the tools, when you have all the people, DRA is there to ensure that all the loopholes are blocked so that you can rake in the maximum revenue that you are looking for?
But yes, he's a minister of finance, but implementation of decisions that doesn't rest with him. They make policies, and so if we have not gotten the right people to be implementing the policies, if ourselves in terms of our body posture is not depicting what it is, and if government officials and politicians are not telling the people why they need to be paying their taxes, if their behaviors and character and attitudes are not showing that when we paying tax, when the people are paying the taxes, is being used for the right things. Because these are questions that you ask yourself that, hey, are my taxes being used for what it's meant for? Exactly. You understand? You're paying the taxes, you're not seeing what you want to see. People will begin to find ways of evading it. So these are things that we need to begin to change our lifestyle, the way we think, the way we approach things. You know, both politicians and we the citizenry. Sure. These are crucial things. And I would say, in terms of advice, that if we expect government, whichever government, whether MPP or NDC, if we expect government to do the roads, if we expect government to do the developmental projects that we have been asking and calling them on, then we need to be paying the taxes, because it is only that government can use in doing all this that we are asking for. I don't think that money comes from anywhere if it's not out of taxes and out of the natural resources that we have as a country. Sure. These are the two basic things that gives us money, and government business. So if all this is not giving us money, and all these three that I've mentioned The chunk of it comes from taxes. So if the chunk of it is supposed to be coming from taxes and we are not paying, 6 billion plus people are supposed to be paying and just 1.5 is paying. And you are calling for roads, you are calling for ABC and all that. Where would they come from?
I want us to come to the banking sector briefly, but I just want to find out, we opted from the IMF. So I just want to ask, what are some of the things that we can implement as a country and those at the helm of our affairs? What are some of the things that we can put in place to ensure that we don't return to the IMF?
Returning to the IMF is likely because...
did you say likely?
Yes.
And on what basis are you saying that?
Yes, I'll give you the reason why I'm saying that. Because it's not cast in stone. And I know.
But I want to believe that it's not the same government who will go back to the IMF.
I know that very, very soon, in a very soonest future, we'll go to the IMF.
Maybe after 2020.
No, I will go to the IMF in a very, I don't know when, but very, very soon. And now let me give you the statistics.
Year.
Let me give you the statistics to buttress that.
Okay.
Ghana is 63 years, right?
Sure.
Ghana is 63
years.
Okay, we've been to the IMF 16 times already. Divide 63 by 16 times. That's approximately 3 point something years.
Okay.
So what it means is that every 4 years we go to the IMF. Every 4 years. Since independence, we've gone to the IMF. So why are you saying you won't go there? You are 63 years.
With this your analogy, it is obvious.
No, we are 63 years.
Yes.
We have been to the IMF 16 times. If you divide 63 by 16.
But then the 63 years, we're talking about from the time of independence.
Yes.
Did Nkrumah go to the IMF?
Oh, maybe you go and check. Everybody has been to the
because
IMF.
I knew Nkrumah has a problem with the IMF.
Everybody has been to the IMF. Whatever it is, in 63 years, we have gone to the IMF 16 times.
Okay.
If you divide it, almost approximately 4 years, we will go to the IMF. That's why I'm saying that we will likely to go to the IMF very soon.
Okay.
And you see, the reason why I'm saying this, just to add more facts to it, is the fact that already you are doing less than expected targets of your revenue mobilization.
Sure.
You are not mobilizing revenue.
Sure.
You are not adding value to your natural resources. Right? You have positioned yourself to do capital projects. Where would you get the money from? And your people are calling on you to stop borrowing. So if you are not borrowing, the IMF will give you money. The reason why countries go to the IMF is that the IMF won't charge you the same coupon rates like other people will charge you. When you sign on an euro bond, the kind of coupon rate you pay, the IMF won't charge you that kind of coupon rate. And so countries freely, comfortably run to the IMF because it's cheaper to run to the IMF for money. So why wouldn't you go there? If I'm a finance person and I'm a business person, so if I can come to you, right, as an international organization for a facility and I'll pay 1%, and he is offering me the same facility in an euro bond and I'm supposed to be paying 10%, which one would I go for? I'm asking
the
you.
less one. Yeah.
And the IMF have positioned itself to give you that kind of facility. So that is why every government strictly runs to the IMF because it's cheaper.
Okay. All right. So I ask a question, what can we do to avoid going back?
Generate revenue. So get more people, get a campaign drive, get more people to understand why they need to pay taxes. It is not just about introducing TIN number like they've done on the face value. When you tell people go and register for a TIN number, is it enough? No. The fact that I have a TIN number doesn't mean I'm paying my taxes.
Exactly.
So it's about paying the taxes. And people will be committed in paying taxes when they know what the taxes are being used for. When we are able to provide education. What is NCCA doing? They need to be doing a lot of campaign. Educating people, telling people why. You can use other countries as benchmarks. Singapore is there, North Korea is there, Malaysia is there. These are countries who can benchmark how they did it. We can learn from them because we started with them. And where are they today? So we need to be able to put in mechanisms and measures in making sure that our people are paying the taxes that they need to pay. And I will tell Ghanaians that whether you like it or yes, whoever becomes president and whatever party comes to power is the same thing, because it's the same taxes that they need to do the capital project, the investment project that we need. They are not superhuman.
Let's sum up our conversation with the banking sector. What is your take briefly?
We've spent in excess of $3 billion already in the banking sector cleanup. We are not done. So I'm anticipating that.
You think it is not done? The cleanup exercise is not done?
We're not done. We still have the savings and loans to do. We still have the rural banks to do.
There's going to be a cleanup.
Yes. There are issues there, and so already you spent $3 billion year ends, and government decides to go ahead and do the rest of the cleanup. It means that we are likely to hit $5 billion. Where would that money come from? So all those things are going to hit your balance sheet, and if those monies are going to hit your balance sheet, and you don't have the money, it means that you have to look for it from elsewhere.
Sure.
So we are going to incur more costs in cleaning up the banking sector. But the question we ask is that the finance minister is saying that the banks have become more robust than they used to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it a fact?
But he is the finance minister. He is saying this. So
no, but you are the end user. How much do you borrow money when you go to the banking sector today and you want to pick a facility? How much do you pay on interest? Yesterday, the president was talking to a group of, a team of IFC people who called on him, and he was talking about how they can collaborate to help government reduce interest rates. Because of the high interest rates and all that, businesses are collapsing. They are not able to make the needed profits to be able to plow back and expand. These are critical issues that needs to be talked about, needs to be dealt with. But hey, that's where we find ourselves, and we need to embrace ourselves for it. I think it's a matter of strategy. I think it's an issue of changing the narrative, and it will take a very bold president,
that will give you a brighter future.
Yes, we need a very bold president, and no nonsense president. Like what is happening in Tanzania, like what is happening in Rwanda. You don't mess up. When you mess up, you go home. You get it? When people begin to go home, when people begin to find themselves behind bars, when properties accrued from positions are being taken away from people, and when citizenry are calling on politicians to demand for accountability, this country will move forward.
But looking at the way things are going, do you see any future for this country in terms of our economic standing at the moment?
What do you mean by future?
I mean, moving forward, we borrowed enough. Even I think the ECOWAS director of, I don't know, but I read something, the ECOWAS director saying that it's going to have an untoward hardship or it's going to have impact on us. But moving forward, do you think the way we are borrowing, the way the economy is going, how is it going to solidify, or how is it going to affect the economy in the future?
Oh, but we are in the future already.
There's no hope for the future.
No, there is hope. No, there is hope. There is hope. I believe in hope, and I stand for hope myself, because the point is that the fact that somebody is messing up today, quote unquote, the fact that somebody is not strategically managing our economy doesn't mean that it can't be managed strategically. That's not it, because the future and the prospects of Ghana is bright. I am confident about that. I know why, because we have what it takes as a country to win and become successful. We have all the natural resources. We have all the youthful, exuberant, energetic men and women to work. It's just that we are not putting them to use, and that is why we are where we are. So the future of this country is very bright. Anybody who tells you the future is not bright is telling you a lie. The future is very bright. We have what it takes. We have the capacity, but it's just a matter of strategy and leadership.
Matter of strategy and leadership. Thank you very much, Mr. Jerry Afolabi. Mr. Jerry Afolabi is an economist and financial analyst, and we'll be discussing the budget, a review of the mid-year budget 2019, and it's been very helpful. My name is Patrick Asford. Will you keep watching PAB-MC GH on Facebook, then also on YouTube. Thank you very much.
Thank you.